Taryn Runshaw, Lillian Selby, and Elliot Weishauer. All right, heads up here in the arena. The Barnett family, you evidently have a truck parked somewhere here that needs to be moved immediately. I've just been informed by Mr. Cashman, your truck is parked somewhere out around the arena that needs to be moved right away. The truck that needs to be moved is sitting in front of Fry Livestock, which is right outside the arena here near the white tent. So that needs to be moved immediately. That is the Barnett family. Upon completion of our grand champion market, our champion pair market lambs and reserve champion market lambs, we'll have our junior shepherds class, and that'll have 3 entries in it. And our junior shepherds class, those people coming in should be coming ringside: Jensen Wagner, Elliot Weishauer, and Madison Myers.
little different way of starting our show out. We got the group classes here right off the bat and the pairs, and I think it's very competitive. It's really strong up here on the top end. And we're going to pick, even got a couple different sexes here on top. These two sheep complement one another. They're bigger, longer bodied sheep. They're very trim. They got a nice touch to them. They're not as muscular maybe in their shape as some that we have out here, but I think they're a nice combination of having some design, some balance, some cutability, and really kind of look together as a pair to be ones that complement one another very nicely. Certainly a type, or I guess a likeness, really belongs to the pen here in second. Those two ewe lambs are kind of peas in a pod. They're very muscular sheep, very powerful, very similar in type and kind. A little smaller statured, maybe just a little fatter as we get our hands on them. Kind of get the ewe, the approach of being a ewe at this stage of development, kind of gets that little extra grease on them. But that's a nice pen that, from the standpoint of fitting together alike, those two fit together very nicely. So we get into the next three pins here. We have some variation in one of the two sheep. Okay, we get a couple down here. We have a ewe lamb. It's a little small, and the blue yam. Same with the other one over here, a little light and weight. They don't fit together quite as nicely as a pair. Like to design this wether just a little bit differently. But I think there's some real quality here as we go third, fourth, and fifth in the lineup. So congratulations. Especially those up here on the top end. We got us off to a pretty nice start here in our Market Lamb Show. Congratulations.
Your champion pair of Market Lambs goes to Elliot Weishauer. Your reserve, that award was sponsored by Brad and Tracy Rill. And your reserve champion pair of Market Lambs is Leah Fritz. And that award is sponsored by the Cashman family. So if we go down your program, I'm going to try and place them here for you. First was Elliot Weishauer. Second was Leah Fritz. Third was Avery Becker. Fourth, Haley Becker. Fifth, Taryn Runshaw. Sixth, Cade Stambers, which was an add-on in the program. Seventh, Mackenzie Butler. Eighth, Lillian Selby. And ninth, Harper McGrath. So down your program, it'll go 3, 4, 7, 2, 9, 5, 8, 1, and 6, and the 6 is Cade Stambers. Thank you. So now we're going to go Market Lambs. Well, I'm sorry, this is Shepherd's class. I'm sorry. This is your Shepherd's class junior. So you got, this is junior, yes. Elizabeth Worley, never mind, we got her. False alarm. Okay, in the ring at this time is our junior Shepherd's class. We have 3 entries: Jensen Wagner, Elliot Weishauer, and an add-on, Madison Myers. Oakley Giles is a scratch. After we pick our class champion here, we will then start our market part of the evening, and we'll start with class 107 AOB Market Lambs. I need Elizabeth Worley and Caroline Worley ringside.
These three young people have bred a nice trio of sheep out here. Each of them, I think, have a lot of good things going for them. The weather, just a good, big, productive sheep. He's a little bigger stature, runs uphill a little nicer than the ewe lamb we have here in second. His real advantage, you get your hands on him. He's opened up really good in his back, got a big loin edge, a big hip in him. Just a good, big, productive sheep that's been blessed with some gain and some performance to him. So the ewe lamb has got some nice pieces to her. She's good in her spine as we out on the move. She stays good right in the middle part of her back. Tail set up there where it needs to be. Pretty good on her feet and legs. In fact, as you watch these get away from you, she might be the best in the design of her hock and the way that she handles it. She maybe runs downhill just a little bit for me as we get off the side. We'd just like to lift her up in her front end and maybe make her a little taller fronted. But nice sheep, very nice, kind of a breeding piece to work with. And then the weather we have that comes here in third, he's still a little green yet. I think as we look at him from really his hip forward, that's a nice sheep. He's got a good height to him. He handles nice over his rack for as skinny as he is. Probably design him a little different in his hock and back into his pins. And as he matures and gets more shape, we're going to like him even better. So he's got better days left ahead of him. He's just not captured all of it yet, quite yet. So again, congratulations. You young people are doing a good job here and breeding good sheep. Keep it up.
Results of our junior shepherds class. First place and your class champion goes to Elliot Weishauer. Second to Madison Myers, and third to Jensen Wagner. Down your program, it goes scratch, 3, 1, and 2, which is Madison Myers, are add-on to the class. The Junior Shepherds Class Champion Award was sponsored by Dawn's Shear Style in Manchester. In the ring at this time is our first class of market lambs. Class 107 are all other breeds. 2 exhibitors, Elizabeth Worley and Caroline Worley. Also, alumni showmanship. We have 10 people on the list. They're going to take no more than 30. And I look around the ring and I see at least 3 that come to mind real fast. Why'd you look away from me like that? I see it. Oh, you're already on the list. Sorry. But I see them hanging out around the ring that are former sheep alumni. Right, Chad? Right, Alexis? Right, Corey?
Well, I asked these young ladies if these were a pair of twins, and she said no, but they're out of the same buck, and you can sure see it. They resemble one another a lot from the side. Sheep that are really pretty good in terms of balance and smoothness, decent in terms of structure. I think what it boils down to, our class winner, is just a little more to that one. He's got a little more leg in him, a little more hip when you get in behind him. His base width is just a notch better, so I think just a nickel more sheep there. There's some trimness advantages that you might want to discuss here in second, partly due to his weight, I think, or disadvantage in weight, but I think the big picture for me is there's just more total sheep here in our class winner. So a good job, young ladies. You've done a nice job throughout the evening here in your sheep show.
Results of our first class of market lambs are all other breeds. Class 107. First place goes to Elizabeth Worley. Second place, Caroline Worley. In your program, it goes 1 and 2. And Elizabeth Worley will be your champion all other breeds lamb. And that award is sponsored by Jim and Katie Weishauer. And your reserve champion all other breeds lamb will be Caroline Worley. And that award is sponsored by Cindy Speak, Cow Crazy Cleaning. In the ring at this time, we have 2 entries, Class 119, Natural Colored Market Lamb. We have Taryn Runshaw and Mackenzie Weaver. Alumni showmanship that have been nominated: Peyton Zepp, Ethan Zepp, Mackenzie Zepp, Lexi Cornett. The following royal family: Molly, Keegan, Logan, Tyler, Kelsey Zepp, Becky Ridgway, Holly Narr, Emma Hebron. You have all been nominated for alumni showmanship.
Really a close decision. 2 naturals that are really very skinny and immature yet. We got a lot of days left ahead of them before we kind of get them to their final endpoint. And the ewe lamb, just some little things. First of all, the height quality, the touch to her is really good. And as you get up in her spine and upper part of her skeleton, she handles really nice. I think from behind right now, down in her twist and her stifle, there's just a little bit more to that sheep right underneath than we find here in the weather. I love the weather up high, though, in his pin set, the way he comes back into his tail. Really good in his length of body. Both sheep are real attractive up in through their neck and their shoulder region. Their underlines are really good. So there's just not a lot of big differences. I think time will tell, and as we get these 2 further down the road with a little more weight, maybe it'd be a little easier to sort them. But I think they both have some good quality aspects to them to feed on down the road.
Results of Class 119, Natural Colored Market Lamb. First place, Taryn Runshaw. Second, Mackenzie Weaver. In your program, it goes 1, 2. In the ring at this time is Class 120, Natural Colored Lightweight Market Lambs. We should have 2 entries, Paige Bassler and Veda Redding. Class 132, White Fascia Cross Lightweight Market Lambs. You should be coming ringside. Clara Collins, Estella Gover, Charlie Weaver, Jacob Frock. You should be coming ringside.
This second set of naturals, once again, you put your hands on them, it becomes pretty clear cut on what we need to do. Just the way this darker fibered one is shaped up high, his rack, the edge of his loin, back into his pin, just more muscle, I think more total sheep here as we get up on him and think about the composition that he has. I think a couple little things we might like to tweak on him. I'd like to loosen him up a little bit in his hind leg and make him travel just a little more accurately if we could. I'd like to pick him up just a bit from the side. He runs downhill little bit, but there's no doubt when you get in behind him, you get up high and study him, he's a sheep that you really like from a carcass standpoint that's got some product. We got a little more stature and frame here in our Weather that winds up in second. He does run uphill good. He's got a nice height to him. He's really pretty clean to the touch when you get your fingers on him. Probably from a standpoint of muscle, he's just a little sharper built down his top and probably a bit more hip in him if we could. So it's kind of the big ingredient of muscles where we want to improve that rascal if we could. So congratulations to the two young ladies here in our second class of naturals.
Results of Class 120 are natural colored lightweight market lambs. First place, Veda Redding. Second place, Paige Bassler. In your program, it goes 2 and 1. Now at this time, we'll pick our champion and reserve champion natural colored lamb.
Well, in our natural division, we don't have just a real big, powerful sheep in terms of weight and kind. I still think really all four of them are a little bit more of a prospective stage in their life. And so it's, I think, my responsibility to come out and pick the better sheep if we could. And I think these two lightweights are just a pair that have more quality to them. They're going to be good sheep down the road. And I think even the two heavier weights are not there yet. They still got some more days left in them. So my two favorites are the ones that we saw in our first class. The ewe lamb will be our champion nat, and then our second place Weather behind her will be our reserve. Congratulations to these two young people.
Your champion natural colored lamb goes to Taryn Runshaw. That award is sponsored by Kitchens by QBI. And your reserve champion natural colored lamb goes to Mackenzie Weaver. And that award sponsored by Bounds Accounting and Tax Services. In the ring at this time, we have Class 132, Whiteface Cross lightweight market lambs. We should have 4 entries: Claire Collins, Estella Gover, Charlie Weaver, and Jacob Frock. Class 135, Whiteface Cross medium weight market lambs. You should be coming ringside. Luke Brower, Addie Collins, Kylie Kaler, and Allison B. Wagner. Okay, something from the sheep committee. We're moving pretty quickly here in the market show. So we need the exhibitors to get to their pens to get ready to bring their lamb into the ring. And the sheep committee is looking for Isabella Corbin. Isabella Corbin, you need to be in line with your lamb or you may miss your class. Isabella Corbin, report to your lamb to show your market lamb.
A nice set of lightweights here in our spec, and I think you get your hands on them, it becomes a little easier to sort these two here on top. This one's blessed with a better hide. He's got a nice shape to his top. He kind of complements that quality of hide with just a leaner, more muscular turn to his top, and handles really good. I'm not a big fan of his hind leg. He wants to roll out a bit more on his hock than what's maybe considered ideal, but a nice sheep. He's got enough look. His chest floor is good. He's got a good underline, and certainly a really good one to get your hands on him up on the top side. The weather in second is most like him in terms of handling quality. Not as expressive in his shape like the weather that's going to win the class, but he's still got a leaner touch to him, especially over his forerib and down his spine than does a ewe lamb. He's probably a little more accurate in his hock from behind. He just wants to funnel a bit more back into his pins and down low. But that's a nice pair of weathers to get us started. The ewe lamb's got some really nice pieces to her. I like her design and her spine. Her feet and legs are good. You know, she's again a little soft and kind of getting at that stage of her maturity where she doesn't handle with quite the quality to her. But I think physically, in terms of her skeleton, her rib cage, and things like that, that's a very nice sheep. I just like to make her a little fresher to the touch and lean her up with a bit more shape. And then we have a bigger weather here in terms of framework and trimness that winds up in fourth. In this particular set, he's a little finer boned, and probably the big ingredient we need to do on him is just kind of stouten him up as we get down his top and out into his pins. But high cutability sheep certainly will have that advantage over the ewe lamb ahead of him.
Results of Class 132, Whiteface Cross Lightweight Market Lamb. First place, Jacob Frock. Second, Estella Gover. Third, Charlie Weaver. Fourth, Clara Collins. Down your program, it will go 4, 2, 3, and 1. Jacob Frock was an add-on in that class. Class 135, Whiteface Cross Medium Weight Market Lambs. Should have 4 entries: Luke Brower, Addie Collins, Kylie Kaler, Allison V. Wagner. Yep. At the conclusion of this class, we'll pick our champion and reserve champion Whiteface Cross Lamb. Reminder, alumni showmanship is going to take place following the market show. $20 to enter, and if you get nominated, it costs you $100 to remove yourself. It's a fundraiser for the Junior Fair Board that puts on several events throughout the week. Caleb's over here to my left. He said he needs a few more nominations, and I know there's plenty of them out here standing around the ring. Search them out, nominate them.
All right, in our set of heavier specs here, a very nice class winner. We had him in showmanship, and I thought in terms of his kind, you work in his cage and top shape. You know, he's really built good up in his rack. I think he's pretty unique when you put him on the walk. He stays really good in his spine, his tail set. He looks really the part whether we stop and park him or we get him out on the move here. So very nice sheep to represent this particular class. I think the race was for second, and we put our hands on him. There's some advantages in height quality and trimness and just the way they touch to the weather that winds up here in second. He needs probably more muscle, and that's the big ingredient we don't find in him like we do on the sheep on either side of him. But I think cutability is his advantage because of the and the height that he has. The next weather, and this young lady, you do a good job showing. He's a little easy backed. We talked about it in showmanship. We want to try to bring his top up a little bit. The fact that he's a little heavier pelted and a little softer yet, he just doesn't handle with quite the firmness and trimness that we like at this weight. But he's a good, big, productive sheep. Length of body's good. Got some hip in him. Pretty good on his feet and legs. So there's some things I think are really good. I just like to give him a little more quality when we get our hands on him. And then the ewe-lamb they have winding this class up with, again, enough framework to her. She just tends to be a little frailer in terms of her bone, her general design when we get in behind this particular sheep. But big frame, long bodied, and certainly level enough in her top.
Results of Class 135, Whiteface Cross, medium weight market lamb. First place to Allison V. Wagner. Second, Addie Collins. Third, Kylie Kaler. And fourth, Luke Brower. Down your program, it goes 4, 2, 3, and 1. At this time, we'll pick our champion and reserve champion, Whiteface Cross Lamb. We should have Jacob Frock and Estella Gover out of Class 1, and Allison V. Wagner and Addie Collins out of Class 2. Attention to the alumni in the arena. Someone should nominate Tucker Schmidt and Gabe Zepp. Somebody should nominate one of those, or actually nominate both of them. Okay. Hey, Caleb.
Well, in our spec division, congratulations to the four of you. I think all these sheep have some things that we sure like. There's one that I think is just a little bit better than the rest by some margin, our heavyweight. He's designed really nice. I really like him from his first rib back. His cage is shaped right. He's got a beautiful rack shape to him, and hip and hind leg design good with plenty of muscle. So he doesn't have the real silky, nice hide. It's a little coarser to the touch, and maybe we'd like to improve that just a bit. That very good sheep. Young lady, you're going to have her champion spec, and then we're going to come back with the lightweight. I think he's the other one that really handles good. Got a good pelt on him. He's really shaped up nice in his top, some cutability. So he's not maybe as perfect in his hind leg and the way that he goes away from us, but there's some carcass merit in him. So champion, our heavyweight, reserve, our lightweight. Let's give all four of them a nice hand.
Your champion Whiteface Cross Lamb goes to Allison V. Wagner. That award sponsored by Dr. Graves, Taylorsville Vet Clinic. And your reserve champion, Whiteface Cross Lamb, goes to Jacob Frock. And that award is sponsored by the Farmer's Wife Designs, LLC. Quick announcement from the Swine Committee. Condon, C-O-N-D-O-N. You need to report to your pen right away. Condon family, C-O-N-D-O-N. You need to report to your swine pen right away. Now, our Senior Herdsman Award goes to Hunter Huff, and our Junior Herdsman Award goes to Emma Shaw. If those two individuals would please report to the backdrop to my right. Those awards are sponsored by Brittany and Colin Fletcher. So Hunter Huff, our Senior Herdsman, and Emma Shaw, Junior Herdsman, please report to the backdrop. Gabe Zepp, you have been nominated for the Alumni Show. In the ring at this time is Class 144, Blackface Cross, Lightweight Market Lamb. We have 5 entries: Isabel Corbin, Riley Dell, Lane Huff, Lorelei Masamore, and Miles Siegel. Jacob Frock is a scratch. Class 145, Blackface Cross Lightweight Market Lamb. You should be coming ringside. Delilah Barber, Estella Gover, Sophie Hamp, Eliza Hockheiser, Harper McGrath, and Lillian Selby. You should be coming ringside.
Very nice start to our first class of Blackfaces, and the Lone Weather is really a nice sheep, and again, still down the road will get better. His body length is good, bone work is good, skeleton's nice, both underneath and up on the top side of his skeleton as he travels, as he stands. And we get our hands on him. He's got a nice hide, got a good shape down his back and down into his pins. So there's a lot of room for this sheep to get better, and I think as he does, you'll like him better at 130 as you do today. So I thought the race was for second. I think it's still very close here between the two ewes that we have here in second and third. The ewe in third just holds her, or excuse me, in second just holds herself together a lot better, both as she travels and stands. As she's a little more right in the middle part of her spine. I like the design of her hind leg a little bit better as she travels around. She's got a good hip in her. She's maybe a little softer to the touch, maybe not quite as expressive as the ewe lamb that we have here in third, but just more quality, especially to the skeleton of that sheep, and she balances out better. I do like the touch of the ewe lamb that we bring here in third. She's got a little trimness advantage over her forerib. She shapes up really pretty good in her loin, the way she sends it into her hip. We put her on the lead, and that's maybe where she gets into a little bit of a struggle for me. She wants to roach up just a little bit in the middle part of her spine. I like to change the design of her hind leg just a little bit too from the side. But nice sheep, more sheep than what we have here in fourth. Fourth's another really long-bodied trim one. Got a nice hide on her. I think that really helps the touch that we get on her. Needs more muscle, and especially as we work back into her pins and her twist area, perhaps she could use a little bit more bone too to kind of stouten the look up that she has. But I like her body length a lot. You know what? The next ewe lamb, in terms of her shape, might be as good as the one that we start with. I like the muscle shape down her back and out of her hip. A little shorter made, and then again, I'm going to be a little harder on this one's hind leg configuration. She bows out just a bit too much from behind. So if we could change that and make her just a nickel longer, we certainly get her up a lot higher in this lineup because she's got some product in her. So nice class, good way to get us started. Nice class winner up here on the top end.
Results of Class 144, Blackface Cross, Lightweight Market Lambs. First place, Lorelei Masamore. Second, Riley Dell. Third, Lane Huff. Fourth, Miles Siegel. Fifth, Isabel Corbin. Down your program, it goes 5, 2, scratch, 3, 1, and 4. At this time, Class 145, Blackface Cross Lightweight Market Lamb are coming into the ring. We should have 6 entries. Delilah Barber, Estella Gover, Sophie Hamp, Eliza Hockheiser, Harper McGrath, and Lillian Selby. Also, exhibitors, you can nominate your lamb for sale on Friday evening, but you cannot do that until you've shown the lamb that you want to nominate. So you must show the lamb to nominate before you can come to the announcer's area and nominate that lamb. Hey, Gabe. Since you got nominated for the alumni show, you ought to nominate Tucker. That way it only costs you $20 instead of $100. Wade Cheney, you have been nominated for the alumni showmanship. Who? Jim Weishauer. Jim Weishauer, you have been nominated for the alumni showmanship.
All right, I don't know how many times I've seen this ewe lamb, but we've seen her more than once out here, and I'm going to pick on her again for the same reason. But, you know, we've talked about her being a little low-fronted, but she's really the good, big-ribbed sheep that we work with here in the class in terms of her cage is really round, and everything up high is just real dimensional. She's got a big wide spread to her rack, good to her hip. I think of the group, I probably favored her the most of her hind leg. There's a couple, 3 sheep in here I'd sure like to change a little bit in terms of rear leg structure. So nice ewe. You know, she's kind of maxed out. Her frame's not going to allow her to get much bigger and heavier because she's just a little smaller, a little earlier maturing. And that's the thing we find in the next 2 wethers here, especially in second. He's a tall-fronted rascal, got a nice silky hide when we get our hands on him. I thought as we put him on the lead and stood him out here, just a little nicer in the integrity of his skeleton, the middle part of his back, the set of his hind leg. I thought his structural part was just enough better than maybe some of the muscle advantage that we find here in third. I like the handle of that sheep in third. He's got a good hide. He's trim. He's very expressive, especially we work back into the heel of his loin and into his hip. He's a little shorter made in his hip. It's just a little awkward on his hind leg when he leaves us, but a sheep that I think has a lot of quality in terms of his touch and the way that he handles out here. The next ewe lamb, actually the next 2 ewe lambs are really long-bodied. The one in fourth in particular is a little too shallow. Both those sheep I'd sure like to change a bit off their hind leg, probably more so in fifth than what we have here in fourth. But They're very long, they're very trim, they're really nice up to the front third of their body. Both of them tend to be a little flatter rib, just a little shallower made than what we have up here on the top end. So the ewe lamb in fifth, like we said, a lot like her, just a bit more concerning in the way she handles her hind leg out here, but super long bodied, really trim. Both those ewe lambs are very trim in terms of conditioning right now and where they're at. And then we have just a pretty good kind of a wether here that ends up completing this group. He kind of falls in the cracks out here. He's a little finer made like the two ewes and maybe not quite as long body, but I think a sheep that's still got some gain left in him and certainly going to get better as we get a little more maturity on him down the road.
Results of Class 145, Blackface Cross Lightweight Market Lamb. First place, Estella Gover. Second, Harper McGrath. Third, Sophie Hamp. Fourth, Eliza Hockheiser. Fifth, Lillian Selby. And sixth, Delilah Barber. Down the program, it goes 6, 1, 3, 4, 2, and 5. Class 146, Blackface Cross Lightweight Market Lamb now in the ring. We have 6 entries: Lloyd Arbaugh, Elizabeth Burns, Mackenzie Butler, Hunter Gross, Lane Huff, and Jensen Wagner. Class 147, you should be making your way ringside. Eli Barber, Adley Hoy, Madison Myers, and Lillian Selby. You should be coming ringside. Two more nominations for the Alumni Showmanship. David Zepp, I stand corrected. David Zepp. And Jamie Garvick. Oh, I don't think I got Amber Miller. You've been nominated. Sophia Battaglia, you've been nominated. Emily Hebron, I'm not sure if I called you, but you've been nominated. So how many we got? 18? You want more? How many? 12 more spots. Let's take a good look around. I'm pretty sure at one time Brad Rill probably showed something. What do you think? Andy, why don't you nominate Brad Rill? Okay, Brad Rill, you've been nominated for the Alumni Showmanship.
A nice set to work with, and the weather, again, he's got more gas left in the tank. We get him there. That's a good sheep. I like the way he runs uphill. He designs really nice from the side, jet level in his top. Got a good hide, a green top, but yet opened up really good as we work back into his pen. So he's a good sheep. He's not there yet. He's got better days left ahead of him. The ewe lamb, being a little further along in maturity and conditioning, it really makes her look smooth. And I think the real strength in that sheep is she's got an excellent rib cage. She's really bold and round. Got a big square back in her as well. Probably just a little softer. She's kind of tapped out. We know we don't get her much bigger and heavier, because if we do, we're going to run into some conditioning issues. So we have just two different sheep in terms of maturity pattern and where they're at and where they can end up being on down the road. And I think the weather, he's just got lots of good days left ahead of him. Again, a close decision for third, and the first 2/3 of the body is this sheep, and we saw him earlier out here in our Shepherd's division, I believe it was. And again, he runs uphill. He's heavy boned. He's got a nice rack. We work back into his hip like we talked about in there. He's just a little shorter hip. maybe not constructed quite right off his hind leg, but from there forward, very nice. The ewe lamb is really long, very muscular, a little fat, again, as we get over her forerib, maybe a little finer bone, extra set to her hind legs, some little things underneath we might want to tweak on her. But I thought the race for third was really very close. The next sheep that we have in here, again, just a good kind of sheep, a little flatter body, not quite as opened up and big and powerful. His touch is better than the sheep that we have completing the class in terms of a squareness of loin edge. The sheep that we have completing the class here, I really like his length. Got a nice height to him. He's got a little hitch in his get along out of his front end, but it's kind of the muscle thing is where we'd like to improve that rascal there and give him a bit more shape when we get up on him. So very nice class. Again, a really strong weather that has bright days ahead of them, in my opinion, up here on the top end.
Results of Class 146, Blackface Cross Lightweight Market Lamb. First place, Lloyd Arball. Second, Lane Huff. Third, Jensen Wagner. Fourth, Elizabeth Burns. Fifth, Mackenzie Butler. And sixth, Hunter Gross. Down your program, it goes 1, 4, 5, 6, 2, and 3. In the ring at this time, Class 147, Blackface Cross Lightweight Market Lambs. We should have 4 entries. We should have Eli Barber, Atlee Hoy, Madison Myers, and Lillian Selby. Class 148, you should be making your way ringside. Oakley Giles, Colleen Haynes, Audrey Hockheiser, Hunter Huff, Cade Stamball, Reed Stamball, and Mackenzie Weaver.
I think the old saying, dynamite in a small package, kind of fits this little guy right here. Really big and square back. You know, you can start up front. You read his forearm, his bone work, his chest width, everything up high is just what you'd expect for what you see underneath, and big square hip in him. Another thing too, you get your hands on him. He has the edge and leanness today, the way that he handles, and I think what thing that makes him pretty unique. Sometimes we get him that heavy muscled. Can we keep him athletic enough? And that's sure not his problem. He really looks good on the go out here in the ring. So very nice entry here in this lightweight division. We've seen the ewe lamb here that winds up in second earlier. We talked about her length of body. She's got some nice features to her, especially the correctness of skeleton that she has. She really looks her best on the move. Again, just a little soft. She doesn't muscle up quite as big and square as the weather that's going to beat her, but a nice high quality sheep that gives us a good presentation from the side. Our weather in third's really skinny, and I think as you handle these two sheep in third and fourth, you'll find that there's a leanness advantage and a shape advantage of this weather. I like the way he's squared up in his loin edge and back into his pins. His twist is a little better than the ewe lamb that brings here in fourth. I guess structurally is where I would like to modify him. We kind of talked about him in showmanship. He wants to get up in the middle of his back, and as we put him on the walk, a little extra set to his hock. So I don't know that he comes together as nicely on the lead as the ewe lamb that wins up in fourth. And I think structurally she has some real advantages. Her lines are good. Length of body's good. She's nice up and through the front third of her body. Just a couple of things. She kind of gets in that category of being a little average on muscle as we work back into her pins and her leg. She just has a tendency of kind of running out of gas, and then we couple that with a little extra conditioning on here. I'm not sure her composition is going to be as good as the weather that winds up here in third. But nice class, an exceptional weather up here on the top end to win it.
Results of Class 147, Blackface Cross, lightweight market lamb. First place, Atlee Hoy. Second, Madison Myers. Third, Eli Barber. And 4, Lillian Selby. Down your program, it goes 3, 1, flip the page, 2, 4. At this time, we have Class 148, the last class of our Blackface Cross lightweight market lambs. We should have 7 entries. Oakley Giles, Colleen Haynes, Audrey Hockheiser, Hunter Huff, Cade Stamball, Reed Stamball, Mackenzie Weaver. At the conclusion of this class, we will pick our Blackface Cross lightweight champion and reserve champion.
I'm good. So welcome to the Market Sheep Show, and we've had a chance to observe a little bit of what the judge is doing, and perhaps on the other side of the camera you're wondering, what is the judge looking for and how does he break down sheep? And so we have found one of our finest 4-H alumni to come and to explain, Kelsey Zepp. Kelsey has shown many species over the years, and in fact was several years ago our all-star showmanship champion, and so has a great deal of experience showing things. So Kelsey, thanks for stopping by. So tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing in judging right now.
So hi, I'm Kelsey Zepp. I'm from just New Windsor, Maryland, and I showed cattle at the national level, and then I showed hogs, sheep, and goats at the 4-H and state level. I am now livestock judging at Blackhawk College East Campus in Kewanee, Illinois, and I am trying to pursue a degree in ag communications. So that's kind of a little about me, but...
So walk us through a little bit about the basics of sheep judging. So when this judge walks out and he's looking at a line of sheep, you know, all I see is one furry animal after the next. But what is a judge, where are some of the major places where a judge is going to say this sheep excels over that one?
So definitely the biggest thing in any kind of market animal is muscle shape, right? And with sheep, it's really big. Like obviously cattle and pigs, you can have some more of that kind of quality grade, as you will, a little bit more in the condition side. But sheep, they want them really lean. They want them hard handling and things like that. So the first thing you kind of look for in sheep is how wide and upstanding they are in the rack, which is like in between their shoulders, I guess, and over their top line. You want that really wide. And you want it to stay wide all the way out through their dock or hip, as you will. And another thing with sheep is the judges, as you can see, will go ahead and handle those sheep. And when they do that, like I said before, they're looking for how hard handling they are, how kind of firm to the touch that they are. If there's any soft areas, that maybe means that lamb may be a little bit heavier conditioned, or fatter is another word. And then another sheep from the side, and you want them to be really long through their front end, level over their top line, adequate in their rib shape. You don't want a lamb overly deep in their rib. You want them kind of just that medium area.
We'll come back after the judge.
He wins just strictly from a design standpoint. His skeleton, the way he's made, and his neck shoulder junction, his underline is really good. I think this sheep, the way he handles his spine, hip and hind leg, there's just a lot of structural things about him that I think is so much better than what we have here in second. I'm not going to come in here and tell you he's the best handling sheep we've had to win the class, because he's not. That's where he disappoints you just a little bit. You would expect a little bit more out of him, but I think that sheep's kind of played out. He's kind of worn out, so he probably doesn't need to handle as good as he probably should. So, and that's the big advantage of what we have here in second. You look at his top shape, you can see it, you can feel it. We got a better hide, we got a better touch here. The weather in second, his rack's good. He's got some dimension when we get right in behind him. He's a little awkward on the move. He kind of throws his hind legs around, wants to roll his hocks out just a bit more. Doesn't set his neck as nicely into his shoulder, maybe a little finer bone. Just some little things that when we get him off to the side, doesn't grab our attention near as quickly as it does to the weather that's going to beat him in class here. But I thought those two kind of needed to sort up, because quite honestly, the next two ewe lambs are very similar to one another. They're long-bodied sheep. I thought there's a bit more of a trimness and muscle advantage in the ewe that winds up here in third versus fourth. Both of them a little extra set to their hind leg. We'd like to square them up on the hock. The big wether, really long and trim, just a little flatter bodied, a little green yet when we get right up on top of him. The next wether got a nice hide, another big skeleton sheep that runs uphill. Too much set to his hind leg, and we just need to kind of bloom him up with a little bit more feed. And then the ewe lamb, she's so much different than everything else. She could have easily been second because you do have some muscle in her, but she's a little shorter coupled, maybe just a little too fat for me. So interesting class, nice pair up on top.
Results of Class 148.
I know what that means. So pulling apart a little bit about what some of the things that he said, and so one of the things he often will talk about is a shoulder. What does that shoulder need to look like? Like, how can I tell a good shoulder from a bad shoulder?
So, in my opinion, you can have lambs that maybe are a little over-conditioned, but they can still be bold about their shoulder, which means it kind of sticks out. But when they're heavier conditioned, it kind of covers it up. Whereas you can have a greener lamb or one that needs to be on feed more, and they can be bold about their shoulder, but it looks like a big old bone sticking out. So they really, at the end of the day, just want one that's really smooth and pretty through their shoulder, but they also need to have a good angle. They need to kind of be set back in their shoulder, have some flexibility in it, and be able to get out and go comfortably.
Another thing a judge will talk about a great deal, and something that's always confused me, is the top line. And so the top line obviously is the very top of the sheep. You're looking at its spine coming across. And so what kind of shape do you want to see in a top line?
So when you're viewing the top line from the side, you really want it to be level and straight. But when you get behind them, you want them to be wide from the top of their shoulder all the way to their dock, and you want that to be uniform. So a lot of times you'll have sheep that maybe are a little bit narrow in their loin, which means it's wide from the top of their loin, and then it kind of sinks in, and then it goes out again. Or another one would be, they say taper out their dock. So they could be wide from their shoulder, and then once they get to about their hip, it starts to get narrow, or increasingly narrower. So you basically just want it to be wide and straight.
And so one thing our viewers might be able to see from their side is sometimes on the top line there'll be like a hitch in the back, or like it'll kind of come to a point. Is that desirable, not desirable? What is that?
So if I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of the times that a lamb has that kind of hump in their back, if it's kind of not a very large one, a lot of times is when that lamb is maybe over bracing. So when I would show, I would have a tendency to make them tense up, but I wouldn't over-brace them when the judge was viewing them from the side. I would really get them bracing harder when that judge came up to handle. But sometimes when a lamb maybe gets a little bit more of a hump, it just means from a structural standpoint they're a little uncoordinated or uncomfortable in their top line. A lot of times it means they break in their loin, and that kind of creates that hump. It just really depends on the lamb.
Okay, no, and that's helpful. And one other thing, and we'll close on this, just something that our viewers might be able to see. Oh, we'll wait till the champion announcement.
Better sheep in here. One of them's ready today. The other one's got more gas left in his tank, as we discussed him in class. So again, all you class winners, very nice. Really, for the most part, they're the kind of sheep that I like to look at. They've got some semblance of some balance and quality to them. We try to put some emphasis on feet and legs and structure, and I think we're able to do very nicely up here on the top end. So this little workhorse here, we called him Dynamite in a small package. He's my favorite today in this lightweight division. He'll be our champion. Congratulations to you. You betcha. And then we're going to come back with one that's got, we said several times, more gas left in the tank. But he's not quite there yet today. He'll be reserved. Congratulations to him.
So the last thing our viewers might be able to see is they talk often about finer bone versus bigger bone. And so where can our viewers kind of look? Obviously you can't put your hands on the sheep, but where can they look to maybe get a sense of the bone inside of a lamb?
Yeah, and I think another thing that maybe sometimes can be confusing for viewers is the difference between leg and bone. So a lot of times in lambs they talk about one that's bigger leg. That usually means like kind of the butt shape to the hock of the lamb. That's kind of what the definition is. But when they talk bigger bone, they mean like from the lamb's hock, if you will, like that elbow-looking part all the way down to their hoof. They want that to be big. And it's kind of hard to view on sheep because you have some that have a lot of hair on their legs. And
keep a lot of the wool there,
yeah. A lot of shag. That is kind of what they call that. Or you'll have some that maybe don't have any. But if you really can study them from the ground and see how big their hoof is, that can really help you kind of view how big their feet actually are.
Very good. Well, I've gotten smarter listening to Kelsey. I hope you have as well. So, Kelsey, thank you so much for coming and hanging out for a minute.
Thanks for having me.
I have a few more for alumni showmanship.
getting kind of late in the night, and it's getting to be a bit more of a challenge to get everything assembled right out here. But another nice sheep here on the top end that's going to win the class. I tell you what, he's hard as a rock when you get your hands on him. Got a beautiful touch, good heighted, fresh, muscular in the way that he's constructed down of his top. And, you know, there's some things I'd like for him to relax a little bit. I'm not convinced he's perfect up in his shoulder. He's a little steeper, I think, up in his blade and down to his knee, and it inhibits his length of stride. But that's a little hard to tell because he's also pretty amped up. Kind of hard to get a real good look on his structure. I think, again, there's some things about the weather in second that leaves you some question marks when we put him on the move. At times he can elevate just a little bit more in the center part of his back. But I think he's constructed better in his hock and his hind leg. I know where they do differ here for second is this sheep's got a trimmer touch to him. He's a little leaner. I like the expression of muscle that he has running down his back. And so the weather in third's a lot like him in terms of his length of body. He's maybe actually a little smoother in the way that he's made. I thought he kept his spine just a nickel nicer than the weather here in second. I'm not a real big fan of his hind leg, and just a little softer, not quite as expressive in his handle like the sheep we bring here in the second hole. The ewe lamb, really smooth, good body. There's muscle in that one. She just has a little extra fat that we'd like to lean her up with if we could, but there's some things about her that really makes her nice, especially the skeleton in that sheep, or spine or tail set is hooked in her really good. And that's the difference between her and the weather. I think compositionally that weather's better. He's trimmer, he's more muscular, just a little rough down his top. He has a tendency to get a little high in the middle part of his back. His loin doesn't set quite as nicely in his hip, but compositionally I think that's a very nice sheep to work with here in this class.
Results of Class 151 are Blackface cross medium weights. First place, Haley Becker. Second, Tuck Stanball. Third, Charlotte Chamberlain. Fourth, Charlotte Chamberlain. And fifth, Beverly Selby. Down your program, it goes 1, 3, 4, scratch, 5, 2. In the ring at this time, we have Class 152. We have 5 entries: Jacob Braun, Leah Fritz, Mason Frock, Luke Myers, and Allison V. Wagner. Class 153, you should be ringside: Mackenzie Butler, Leah Fritz, Atlee Hoy, Kate Stanball, Charlie Weaver. Everyone, please listen up in the barn. I'm looking for Katie Singer Murfin. Katie Singer Murfin. I know I have something you're going to be looking for. Katie Singer Murfin, please come to the announcer stand.
Another very nice handling weather. That's why he beats the ewe lamb here in second. He's just a better shaped up sheep in his back, his rack, and we get back to his pins, his twist and leg down low is just more expressive than what we have in the ewe lamb. He's sure trim enough. body length's good. He's really just one of those that's a hind leg away from being really pretty daggone nice. But he does have kind of a wonky hind leg. He's got a little extra set to it and not much fuzz to cover it up. And so he's probably not quite as special in terms of his skeleton off his rear end, but he's a good sheep when you get your hands on him. The ewe lamb's very nice. You know, we've kind of picked on several ewe lambs for being a little fat, and this one here is sure good enough in that regard. She's got a nice loin edge. Probably as we work back into her pins and we get down the lower part of her leg, she doesn't match the Weathers extra dimension like we have up on the top end. I do favor her hind leg a bit better on the move than what we have in him, but just muscle-wise, cutability-wise, still not at that level like we have up here in the Weather that's going to win. The next ewe lamb, really stout and powerful, but again, a little soft. She's starting to get a little fatter over her forerib than what she needs to be, but she's powered up. She moves more comfortable off her hind leg than the next Weather. This next rascal, he's a big hip dude. He's got a lot of width when we get in behind him. I think it has a tendency to maybe hurt him a little bit more when he moves. He just kind of waddles from behind, doesn't look quite as comfortable in the way that he's hooked up in his hip, but a real massive sheep that's really opened up big in his skeleton and certainly got some product when we get in behind him. The next ewe lamb, really long. She's trim enough, very smooth in her pattern, but we'd like to take a little of the extra muscle we have in him and put it inside of her. Then you got a pretty nice kind of a sheep. You know, in this particular class, she's just a little flatter rib, just a little bit too narrow when we get right in behind her.
Okay, we have some additional nominees for the Alumni Showmanship. Chet Stem, Jeff Medlin, Layla Metz, Kyle Schultz, Gwen Burns, and it is my pleasure to announce the following two people. Megan Zepp Cagle and Christy Zepp Petrie. Megan Zepp Cagle and Christy Zepp Petrie, you have been nominated.
All right, another very nice class, a good pair. Boy, if we could kind of take the strength of the two, we come up with a big-time sheep. but they're still both good. They're each different. The ewe lamb, really impressive from this angle. Big pin, got a twist in her, really good base width, mobile. You know, she gets out and she travels this ring pretty handily. I like to pick her up in her front just a bit. She's starting to get a little ewy when we get her hands on her, a little softer up in her forerib, but there's way too much sheep. And I think the quality of her skeleton gives her the edge over the wether we have here in second, especially up in her spine. So this wether, I like him up front. Young man, you're doing a pretty good job. You got a nice neck, good blade on that sheep, that good white pelt. You're kind of drawn to him when he comes in the ring. He's one of those that has a tendency to get just up a little bit more in his spine. Not so much a problem on his feet and legs. It's more a way he's made up in his top line. And just the muscle thing is where they really differ. He's a little flatter body, just closed up a little bit more in his skeleton from one end to the other. But high quality sheep. Nice job, the young man, getting him shown. Another good cutability sheep that ends up here in third. He's long-bodied. He's trim. Again, you get into the discussion of structure. He's probably a little better in the way that he's made than what we have here in second. He's a little flat-bodied, and as we kind of study him and his chest floor back in behind, just in general, he's a little too narrow in the way that he's constructed, so we'd like to open him up a bit more. We move this, so we switch these two around. This wether in fourth is he's got some muscle and some base width to him. He's just so ornery to get shown. He gets all stretched out and kind of falls apart, and then behind his shoulder and his top line, he gets a little too easy. But, you know, it's just a game of cutability, a game of muscle, and he does sure have that advantage over the ewe lamb. That ewe lamb's really nice in her top, good in her underline. You know, her lines are pretty good. A little finer bone, and then we kind of add to the equation. She needs a bit more hip and muscle, trim her up just a little over her forehead. So there's some little things here as we start to add them up. Maybe doesn't become quite as strong up here as some we have up on the top end. Nice class, good pair here on top to get us rolling.
Results of Class 153. First place, Atlee Hoy. Second, Charlie Weaver. Third, Cade Stanball. Fourth, Leah Fritz. And fifth, Mackenzie Butler. Down your program, it goes 5, 4, 1, 3, and 2. In the ring, it's this time, it's Class 154. Should be 4 entries. Should be Abby Kane, Isabel Corbin, Avery O'Meara, and Lexi Zepp. Class 155, you should be ringside. Lloyd Arbaugh, Avery Becker, Elizabeth Burns, Kylie Medlin, Taryn Runshaw, Elliot Weishauer.
Bryce just got nominated. Bryce and Crystal Stowers.
So you want one more?
Yep.
Okay, 2 more people just nominated for the alumni. Bryce Zepp, Crystal Stowers.
Here, over there.
Who?
I think we have one more nomination. See over there in the red shirt.
Oh, someone pointed out some guy over there in a red shirt to be nominated. Is it red shirt or maroon shirt?
It might be a maroon.
Somebody said somebody over there looks scared. I didn't know what that. Jerry, you should nominate your son-in-law.
Another close decision here on the top end, and I think part of the reason they sort this way. We put them on the walk, and our sheep that's going to win the class, he's just more comfortable out here, more relaxed. His skeleton stays assembled more correctly in his hip and his hind leg. We get him from the side. I think he's a good sheep as well. He's really nice in his underline. He's real tidy up in his chest, stays pretty clean to the lower third of his body, runs uphill, big bone. The one thing I'm not going to get on the mic and tell you that he's better handling. I think there would be, that'd be telling you kind of a fib. I don't think he's a horrible handling sheep. He's got some width to his loin. His upper hip is good. He's a little softer over his forerib. He doesn't have quite the touch to him of the Weather in second. That is a real strength of him. I like looking at him down his top. I like handling him. Got a good height. He's lean. He's muscular. He's just a little skittish, you know, and so he ducks his pins. He gets his hind leg up underneath him. He's just kind of one of them nervous sheep that if he would just relax, I think he could look a whole lot better on the move. But the structures become, you know, I guess for me, it's always been a big thing in the Market Lamb show, but we're starting to see a lot more of it. And I think that's kind of how those two Weathers need to sort, because you don't have much more punch and power to offset the balance and structure we have in him. Another close call here in third, and these are two good productive sheep. There's probably a little more hip in what we have here in fourth. I like the assembly of the lines, the front end, the shoulder, the way this sheep comes together in third a little bit better from the side. He's just hooked up a little bit better from his front end, and I think the Weather in fourth, you know, from behind I like him. He gets a little U-neck, maybe a little more opened up in his shoulder, just doesn't tidy up quite as nicely, pull together quite as nicely as the sheep we have right ahead of him. But another close decision for our third slot here in this lineup.
So the sheep show is getting late, but we are not done, and our young people are still out here excited to show. And so we have with us Clara Collins. Clara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been showing since I was 8 years old. I'm 14 now, so I've been showing for about 6 years. This year I only show sheep, but next year I'm going to be doing cattle, sheep, and goats. Cattle, sheep, and goats.
And so one of the things we've talked about, because you were so great to come over and remember to talk to us, but you know, not everybody is a winner. Sometimes, you know, we don't place top of the class, and we got to figure out kind of where we go from here. So tell us a little bit about your experience in the market class. Where did you place? What did the judge say to you? And what are some next steps for you as an exhibitor?
So there are two types of classes we have for sheep. We have showmanship and market. In showmanship, I got third place. The judge told me that he didn't like my hand placement, which I totally get. Every judge is different, so I was happy to change my hands, and because I love correction, I love constructive criticism. So when he told me to change my hands, I did it, and then asked if I did it correctly, and he said yes. So I'm glad that I had that experience. And then in market, I got fourth place. My lamb, he's a pretty nice lamb, but he could use a little more muscle. His bill's not the best. His fat, he could use a little more fat as well.
So how do you correct that over the course of the next year? You know, you'll have a different lamb, you'll start your project over. How do you fix that?
So to gain muscle, I could walk him up and down the hill more. I did a mile per day this year, but since it didn't have enough muscle, I think next year I'm going to up it to 2 miles per lamb. And then for fat, I could just feed him more.
Very good. And one other thing I want to ask you about real quick, because not everybody just does market. You also have breeding lambs, and you have hair sheep, which is different than wool sheep. So tell us a little bit about hair sheep and how they're different from wool.
So the difference between hair sheep and wool sheep is hair sheep are normally a little bit smaller in size, and hair sheep shed their hair. So they all sheep have winter coats, and haired sheep, when it comes time for spring, they will shed their coat. But wool, you have to shave them in order for them to lose their coats.
Very good. Well, Clara, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on this year, and best of luck in the future.
It's a challenging class. I think all these sheep really have some good things about them. And yet there's every sheep in here we can get into a real discussion if they're the best because of a certain reason where they don't excel. And I think the first thing that we're going to question ourselves a little bit here on the ewe lamb is we get in behind her. Is she big enough in her pins? Does she have enough twist in her? And, you know, I'm going to say she has enough, but she is so much better my speed from the side. I like sheep that are a little more elevated. They run uphill, particularly getting these bigger, heavier weights like this. She's got a really nice touch to her in terms of her height quality, her trimness. She spans big enough in her loin. You know, we'd like to crack her rack open a little bit bigger, and I'd like to make her bigger hip, and then she's one that would be the one that could probably win this show if we could do that. But that's a nice sheep. She's more my speed from the side, especially in terms of her structure. That's where I struggle with the next two out here. You know, those are a pair of wethers that have a lot more product in them in terms of muscle. They're really big hipped sheep that I think in terms of expression are as good as any that we've had in the ring. But I also question a little bit in terms of mobility. They just kind of waddle out of their hind leg. They're not constructed in their hip right and the design of their hind leg. They both want to throw their hocks out and just don't stay assembled good enough in terms of their structure. But they're a pair of sheep that I think are very much alike. I thought the front end and the way this one presents himself when we get him propped up, the quality of leg wool kind of helps the presentation of bone underneath him. I don't know if he's any heavier bone, but it kind of helps his presentation. He stays just a little bit more right when we get him stopped in his spine than what we have here in third. This one's probably got more hip, a little more product in him, but again, a little too tight made out of his hip and off his hind leg. Wants to roll up a bit more in the middle of his back. Again, we can set them two sheep second and third. We can set them down here at the bottom if you like. If you're if you want to be real critical of structure, you can sure do that. The next wether here in fourth, really good from his hip bone forward. He's big and long and elevated. He runs uphill nice. He's got a good touch to him. He's trim enough. You know, he's a little finer boned, and then we get in behind him, and he just needs to be opened up in his hip and his pin a bit more if we could. There's some things about him that might resemble the ewe lamb that wins the class in terms of his elevation and his levelness at top, but I think beyond that, there's just a lot more quality in that ewe lamb to go ahead and win it, and not enough sheep there to keep him up in the second spot. Young lady, I really like your sheep from the showmanship. His bone, his design is really good. I just wish that guy would handle better. We talked about the importance on him when you're showing him to get a good brace because he's kind of soft and he doesn't have that real expressive shape. You know, if I didn't have to worry about handling him and just judging from the side, we run him way up there because I think there's a lot of good features in him with regards to structure and balance and design and rib cage that we didn't talk about up in the sheep up ahead of him. But he's probably in this class the one that's the biggest disappointment. And I like the way this sheep does handle here. I think in terms of his trimness and his top shape, it's really good. He's one of those that's a little tighter built in his structure, kind of like up here on the top end, but just not as massive and powerful as those sheep there. He's a little shorter hipped and a little tighter hinged out of it as well. So, yeah, that's a good class. There's no right or wrong way of placing them. It just kind of depends on what your priorities are and how you want to assemble them. But I think the quality of that class was really good. Just no necessarily one that easily sticks out in my mind.
Results of Class 155 are Blackface cross medium weights. First place, Kylie Medlin. Second, Taryn Runshaw. Third, Lloyd Arbaugh. Fourth, Elliot Weishauer. 5, Elizabeth Burns. And 6, Avery Becker. Down your program, it goes 3, 6, 5, 1, 2, and 4. We're now going to pick our Blackface cross medium weight champion and reserve champion. Out of Class 1, Haley Becker and Tuck Stambaugh. Out of Class 2, Allison Wagner and Luke Myers. Out of Class 3, Atlee Hoy and Charlie Weaver. Class 4, Lexi Zepp, Avery O'Meara. And Class 5, Kylie Medlin and Taryn Runshaw.
Well, a bit more of a challenge. I think this set of sheep, there are some very nice ones out here. Each one of them maybe just a little bit of a reservation for me to say we have a clear-cut winner out here. We're going to have one that I think is the best built and couples out with clearly a muscle advantage that some of the others don't have. Probably for me, she runs downhill just a little bit. We talked about that. She's got a nice underline, so it doesn't really affect her too much when you look at her from the side, but she's getting just a nickel fat over her forehead. But I think the ewe lamb that stands here in the middle, she's the quality sheep that needs to win this division. Congratulations to her. The classmate, we don't have them exactly in the right order out here. We talked about the other sheep that's in there. He does need some muscle, I think, a bit more power to kind of come back here and set in for reserve. It kind of came back for me. The reserve spot needs to come between these last two sheep. The weather, he's heavy duty in terms of bone. He's opened up really good. I just wish that thing would handle better. You know, he's just a little soft. He doesn't give me any really good tone and touch when we get our hands on him. The ewe lamb, I love this one from the side or silhouette. Obviously, she needs a shot more muscle. So, you know what? Fortunately for you, I'm a steak eater. I like beef, and I'm not a big fan of lamb. So I'm going to put a little less emphasis on muscle. We're going to use our heavyweight ewe lamb here for reserve in this division.
Your Blackface Cross medium weight champion goes to Atlee Hoy. And your medium weight reserve champion goes to Kylie Medlin. Now we're going to jump into our heavyweights. Should have class 158 with 7 entries. We should have Alyssa Costa, Estella Gover, Hunter Huff, Olivia Miller, Reese Smith, Brooklyn Wagner, and Elliot Weisschauer. Class 159, you should be coming ringside. Haley Becker, Avery Becker, Madison Myers, Veda Redding, Elliot Weisschauer. To all sheep exhibitors, your nominated lamb for the sale must stay at the arena. Your other lambs can go home once the show is complete. All nominated lambs for the sale stay here at the arena. All others may go home once the show is complete.
Very nice class. Good depth, good quality here in this group that we have up on top. A little like we've talked about in some other classes, you have options. It's just kind of what suits you best. And the weather for me, we saw him in showmanship, and I liked him a lot in there. He's a really good sheep from the standpoint of silhouette. Runs uphill, sternum stuck up in him where it needs to be. His neck set so nicely up into his shoulder blade. He's got a good underline. He has enough muscle. I'm not going to tell you he's the biggest one in here in the class in terms of muscle shape. That actually belongs to the weather here in second. I like his pin width. I like him from behind in terms of his twist. Leg is good from the side. I think he handles it good, and accordingly he keeps his spine right. He has a tendency to roll out just a little bit more in his hocks, and I would like to maybe just give him a little more loin edge, kind of freshen that guy up in that part of his handle. But just a really, really nice sheep. He's in the 40s, and I think kind of fits it pretty well. Real power sheep in second. He's got a good handle, big square back in him. His twist is really good. You know, again, it's kind of, he's at that border for me where he's got so much muscle, he just tightens up a little bit more in his movement. I'd like for him to hit that hind leg a little more correctly, a little more athletically, keep his spine assembled a little bit better if we could. But compositionally, that sheep is really a fun one to get your hands on the way that he handles. The next weather, another one we saw in showmanship, and he's a little soft, but you did a good job. We kept on him. His length of body's good, very muscular too. He doesn't take the muscle shape as extreme to the weather here in second. Maybe doesn't have quite the trimness and the bells and whistles of the class winner. So he's kind of one of those sheep that he's a nice sheep in terms of composition. He's a little finer bone, just doesn't hit you with quite the wow factor to him when we get him off this side like we have up here in this first sheep, and certainly the power sheep that we have in second. Another very nice ewe lamb here, and a young man just like the weather you had in here a minute ago. I love her length. She runs uphill. She's a good sheep really from the heel of her loin forward. I think there's enough muscle to her as we work back into her pins and her twist and lower leg. We just kind of run out of gas on her. But you had them two paired up there, and that's why they won that pair, because they were a lot alike. They're very similar in type and kind, and big sheep that have some production to them. A really muscular sheep here next. Probably got more power in that one than we have in a couple that we have up ahead of you. It comes at a little bit of a sacrifice. He's a little too short-bodied and getting just a little fat when we get our hands on him, but muscle thickness is not an issue with him. We get into the next two sheep. I thought there's just a little more bone, a little more trimness, and again, correctness of the skeleton here, and what we have second from the end. The more Suffolk-appearing weather is a big-bodied sheep, just a little finer bone, a little tighter made in the way that he handles his top line out here in the ring.
Results of Class 158 in our heavyweight division. First place, Alyssa Costa. Second, Hunter Huff. Third, Olivia Miller. Fourth, Elliot Weishauer. Fifth, Estella Gover. Sixth, Brooklyn Wagner. 7, Reese Smith. Down the program, it goes 1, 5, 2, 3, 7, 6, and 4. In the ring at this time is Class 159 in our heavyweight division. We should have 5 entries. Elliot Weishauer, Veda Redding, Madison Myers, Avery Becker, and Haley Becker. At the conclusion of this class, we'll pick our heavyweight champion and our heavyweight reserve champion.
All right, very nice. And they get into the heavyweights. You sometimes worry if you get the right kind of composition in them, but we're really in good shape for sheep. And I'm going to say they're in the upper 40s and 50s for the most part, so we don't have any real issues. We've seen this one, I don't know how many times out here too today, and there's just a lot of things about her that's pretty special. The way she's assembled up in the front third of her body, her underline is nice. She keeps her spine so good in her top. Big hip, big twist. You know, I think from her hook bone back, that one's really good. She's not real impressive in terms of her cutability right now. She's kind of getting at that stage where she's getting a little more maturity, a little more like a U, if you will, but there's still a lot of product underneath that. One thing I would like to, if we could improve her some to just make her a real specimen, is the set of her hock and her hind leg from the side. Again, not one of those that's a real structural issue. It just doesn't wow you quite as quickly because she's got a little extra set to it. I think for second, this weather was more like her when we get him off here on the profile. A little nicer in his underline. He's a little tighter up in through his chest. Cutability is what I want to say the advantage he has over the next weather. Maybe just not quite as typey and well balanced as the ewe lamb that's going to win the class, but I thought he kind of fit the speed a little bit better what we set up here to win this class. But perhaps the weather in thirds got a little more hip in him. Just in general, you like the dimension, his chest floor, the natural width of skeleton that he has. He puts it in just a little heavier middle, little plainer package from the side, so probably not quite the look that I felt the first two had from a profile, but a good sheep. I thought that was a real close battle there for second hole. I really like the cutability and the trimness. You've done a good job keeping this old sheep pretty lean here. He needs to be a little more expressive in his muscle. He's kind of flat-bodied, but boy, I tell you what, for this weight, you've done a really good job in keeping him right in terms of trimness and cutability. We just like to make him a little more powerful when we get in behind him. And same with the sheep that winds it up. He's big and long and heavy bone. There's some things about him that's very nice. We just gets to be a little flatter in his hip and open him up just a little bigger and stouter in his top to be more competitive up here on the top end. Nice class. Again, congratulations on another very good class winner here in this division.
Results of Class 159 heavyweights. First place, Madison Myers. Second, Haley Becker. Third, Elliot Weishauer. Fourth, Avery Becker. And fifth, Veda Redding. At this time, we're going to pick our champion and our reserve champion heavyweight. Out of Class 158, we have Alyssa Costa and Hunter Huff. And out of Class 159, we have Madison Myers and Haley Becker. Also at this time, I know things have gone fairly quickly here in the market class, and he wasn't kidding when he said we're going to move. So, but I would like to introduce the judge. If you were here this morning, he did the beef heifer show. So if you were here, you got to see him and judge our heifers here. But his name is Scott Shaky. Scott is from Kansas, and he was a teacher at Kansas State University for 32 years, 22 years as the coach of the livestock judging team at Kansas State. His wife Candy is also a retired teacher, and he has a son Shane and wife Melissa Grimmel. And he also has Shiloh and his wife Jamie, and they're expecting their first grandchild in about a week. So currently he is a full-time rancher with purebred Simmental cattle in the Flint Hills of Kansas. So let's give a warm welcome to Scott here at Carroll County. Tell him a little bit about what it's like here on the East Coast. Thank you for a job well done, sir.
Well, thank you. It's still hot and humid. It was 30-some years ago when I was here last time, so some things just never change, right? Really good division. These two sheep that win their classes are, sometimes you got, some are like, well, he's a cowboy. He's a cow man. He doesn't judge sheep shows. I love judging sheep shows, and I judge quite a few of them. And this is the kind of sheep that are a little more my speed. I like them a little more elevated, a little taller fronted. They need to have some length. The weather, he just does such a nice job from the side in painting an image. You know, I think his neck and shoulder attachment, his rib cage is shaped really nice, whether you talk about the spring of it or you talk the underline that he has. He's fresh in terms of finish. He's got enough muscle. He's not overwhelming. There's been several sheep in the ring that probably have a bit more shape than him, but he puts it in a really long package. I love the hip design on him. He ties down deep. Nice hind leg from the side. We talked about in class. He rolls out a little bit from behind. So there's a couple little areas we really want to make him just a little bit better to say he's a big-time player, but he's still a pretty big-time sheep. I like him a lot. Our ewe lamb, again, just so nice up front. Beautiful in her presentation, her neck and her shoulder. She's a proud sheep. Long body, good in her underline, big hip, big pin. She's good in her twist too, like the weather ahead of her. Maybe not quite as impressive to the touch as we study her in her forerib. Her rack shape not quite as good as his. And like I said, I would probably modify her hind leg from this angle. You know, we will change him from behind. I'd like to change her just a little bit from the side. But two very nice sheep and two really good seconds. For me, they're maybe not quite got the look that I like. I like those to be a little taller, a little more elevated, and keep their skeleton right, especially in their spine. That's where these two class winners do so well. Young lady, your luck has run out, okay? You're going to be reserve. Our champion's going to come out here with our weather up front. She's going to be our champion heavy. Our young lady that wins the second class will be reserve.
So your Blackface Cross heavyweight champion goes to Alyssa Costa. And that award is sponsored by G&J Excavating. Your Blackface Cross heavyweight reserve champion goes to Madison Myers. And that award is sponsored by Deanna and Lucas Guyman. So at this time, we should be picking our champion Blackface Cross Lamb and our reserve champion Blackface Cross Lamb.
Well, I hope you all are as proud of your sheep show as I am. Just taking a few minutes to get to sort through them. You all have a beautiful county here, great facilities, and we filled the ring with some really good sheep tonight and good showmen as well. But the quality of this show is really good. This will be as good a county fair sheep show as you'll find from coast to coast. We started out in that first division. I said this guy here is kind of dynamite in a small package, and he's still that. He is, of the group that we have out here, you know, he's got a big forearm, big opened up in his chest. His general skeleton is really, really massive from one end to the other. So muscle, not an issue. He's got plenty of it. What makes him pretty unique is his flexibility, his ability to get out and travel and look like he can do it pretty easy. A little small, you know, I think, again, he'd become a fun sheep to take. We used to sneak down to Phoenix because it was warm compared to Kansas in January. That'd be one that kind of let grow a little bit and take out to a show like that down the road, because I think he's got some pretty cool features for a nice sheep down the road. The ewe lamb that won our second division, that division was a tough one for me. It was kind of hard to get him to put together. You know, obviously she's built a little like the weather ahead of her in terms of his cage, the muscle that she has. She's big pinned and really good in her twist. And we've commented a couple times, for me personally, she just is a little low fronted. I'd like to lift her up and clean her up just a nickel when we get our hands on her. But I think there's some real similarities in her design, her cage, her muscle shape, like we find in Little Weather that won the first division. And then, of course, we had our last division here, two bigger sheep. Again, they don't necessarily surface because they are bigger, but for me personally, I like them a little taller front, a little more elevated, and I thought that pair of sheep were really quite nice at the weight range that they represent. So congratulations to all of you. Today, my favorite is going to be our heavyweight. Let's give her a nice hand. This will be our champion Blackface in this division. I think it's necessary to keep them together. The other one that I think just kind of gets the image, it suits me really, really well, is her divisional reserve. Let's give this young lady a nice hand. She's had a pretty special night, and congratulations to her for another nice example out here in our show. Good job.
So your champion Blackface Cross Lamb goes to Alyssa Costa. That award sponsored by Dave Penn and family. And your reserve champion Blackface Cross Lamb goes to Madison Myers. And that award is sponsored by Cody Cashman. We'll now pick our grand champion and reserve grand champion market lamb.
Well, we just about come to the conclusion. I was excited to get them all back out here, and probably most importantly to kind of see how our spec fit in, or White Cross, I guess, will line them up, and how she fits in here, and he keeps things pretty interesting. I think for, again, 4-rib back, excellent sheep. He's round caged. He's dead level on his top. His tail sit up there where I like it. The construction of his hind leg is just really dead on from the side. You know, he's a little smaller statured, and I think if we make this thing a really big-time competitor to beat the 2 Blackfaces, we want to lift him up a little in his front, lengthen him up in his neck, give him just a little of that extra if we could. I know you're trying hard, sweetheart. You've worked hard all night long, but you've got a good sheep, and he makes the thing really pretty daggone interesting out here, and it makes it a pretty close call. So I didn't want to get done at midnight. I told him we was going to beat that. So, you know, my time, and we're an hour earlier than y'all here, but I don't want to take any more of your time. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come back and work with your young people. I probably, last time I judged a show, I judged your parents, okay? Maybe some of you, your grandparents. So it's been a long time ago, but it's good to come back and work through such a great county. So congratulations. We're going to stick with the 2 Blackfaces that just represent them, Grand Reserve. Congratulations to everybody out here. A nice lineup of sheep.
Your grand champion market lamb goes to Alyssa Costa. That award sponsored by Jerry W. Frock family in memory of Mr. and Mrs. John W. Frock. Reserve Grand Champion Market Lamb went to Madison Myers, and that award was sponsored by K. Wagner, DVM, North Carroll Veterinary Services Incorporated. Now we have club groups. You can have 2 entries in your club. It's 4 people to a group. You are allowed 1 or 2 club entries. If you're going to enter, let's make your way ringside. This is club groups. If your club, your 4-H club, wants to bring 4 lambs into the ring, there can be all different owners, and you can go as a group of 4 representing your club.
All right, we need everybody to listen up. This is really important. Here in a minute, we're going to have our alumni showmanship competition. What I would like to do is to get as many people that want to be a judge out here to help with this, okay? And for $20, you can be a judge. And if I'm showing in here, I dang sure want my spouse out here judging me, because that gives you a leg up. So everybody that's got your name out here to show, you better have either your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband out here serving as a judge. It's only going to cost you $20 more, okay? That's a quick trip over to Midway, okay? And you won't have to do it because you spend it out here. So please, let's start getting some judges signed up. Easy $20.
All right, there's judges everywhere I look. Everywhere I look. Dave, you can even judge yourself if you want. So you can show the lamb and judge yourself or somebody else while you do it. How many we got? We got clubs. Are clubs ready to go?
If you give me $20 more, I'll let you judge.
Clubs.
All right, give me $20 more.
4 to a group. Club groups are here. Let's do it. Get her done. That's what I'm saying. $20 be the showman and the judge. Got $20 for me? I was looking over there to see if there were anybody coming up. That's what I was looking for. Down below. Bottom. Everybody here for the club groups.
We're here at the end of the 2025 Market Sheep Show, and we are here with our grand champion, Alyssa Costa. Alyssa, congratulations.
Thank you.
So it seemed to be pretty emotional for you. How are you feeling?
Very much so. This lamb actually really means a lot to me. His name's Norman. He's really cool. I got him back in March in honor of a family whose child had recently been diagnosed with leukemia. And he had been auctioned off at least 6 times already before I became the final bidder. And I just wanted to try something new this year, and here I am.
And so the grand champion means more to you than just winning a show. There's a much bigger story behind it.
I've done goats my whole life, and I had 1 year left, and I just wanted to get involved in something new and try something. And here I am.
It's a fantastic story. It means the world to you. You've got a great team behind you. We just wanted to stop and say congratulations
Thank you.
and all the best.
Being our reserve champion, and then you're going to be the reserve champion, 3rd overall. Okay, give them all a nice hand. I appreciate them bringing them back out here for this final part of the contest.
Hey, just a reminder to exhibitors, I haven't heard any different, but the swine committee was looking for people who may have not weighed their pigs for the show tomorrow. So if your pig has not been weighed, you need to get to the swine committee down here at the end of the swine pens. There was some concern that either some got scratched or that somebody didn't weigh their pigs. So if you have a pig to be in the show tomorrow and it has not been weighed, you need to get there ASAP, which in today's world means as soon as possible.